we are making choices to eat not based on when we are hungry, but whenever we want to. Almost 90% of the energy that we consume from food in terms of calories is used by the body to run the body. If you want positive adaptations, then you need to have good nutrition and the right nutrients in the bloodstream for the cell to then behave
in a positive way.
Today, all the foods even which are grown are having less fiber content and more calorie content, carbohydrates.
Hi, welcome to another of NuMee's discussion on lifestyle choices. Today we have with us Avinash, who has had a career as an engineer and traveled widely as a business development head for an engineering company. Avinash is interested in nutrition. He's a nutritionist, and this interest developed when his father, who had a heart bypass, improved his overall condition by taking a few plant-based nutritional supplements, which was recommended by a family friend. Soon Avinash found himself delving into books on nutrition and also started advising family and friends. He has completed a certified course in exercise and sports nutrition and followed this up with a diploma in evidence-based nutrition. He has been coaching in this field since 2013 and has also helped co-found Thinkfit, where personalized nutrition and diet are used as key pillars to bring about health transformation. Thank you so much, Avinash, for coming on NuMee's podcasts, and welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So quite a shift from engineering to nutrition.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so, but I think somewhere inside I always had some instinct for being fit and healthy or something, and somewhere this triggered. Otherwise, why will an engineer ever think of nutrition?
We do have to think about it. So, when you went into nutrition and all of that, and you read about it, what do you think are the impact of our food choices on our health? Right, because when you say nutrition, it's closely linked with what we eat and put into our body. Right. So what is the impact of this on our health? Okay,
so that's a very interesting and important question. And before answering it directly, because you used a few words in that question. The first word that you used is food. So let us first define what is food.
Okay,
right?
Good.
Because food, according to me, is something that the earth provides us.
Yeah.
I mean, something that grows because of the earth. It grows. There are microorganisms in the soil that provide the nutrition into the plant, and the plant gives us the fruit or the vegetable or whatever it is that yields, and we prepare it in a way that we can consume it.
Yeah.
So this is what food has always been for more than 70,000 years of our existence on this planet, right? But for most people nowadays, anything that comes out of a packet is also food.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That was where my mind was going in terms of processed and not processed, how the processing has increased over time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the processing has increased, and so anything when people are eating out from a packet, that according to me is non-food.
Non-food.
Non-food. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I'm not making a judgment call on food and non-food. I'm just stating what it is, right? So if it is something that has been grown and somebody has taken the care to actually provide it to us, and we prepare it and eat it, that is food. Okay. So that is the first aspect. So that is the definition of food. Okay. That's other interesting question. A word that you used is choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at it in the world, okay, in the animal kingdom, let's say, okay, in the animal kingdom, we are probably the only species that differentiates with the rest of the animal kingdom by our ability to think. Right? No other animals can actually think. Okay, our cognitive ability.
Okay.
Okay, and because of that cognitive ability, we are also able to make a choice.
Choice.
Animals can't make a choice, and we have that ability to make a choice, right? And so let us just see what are the choices that we make when it comes to food. Okay, so the first thing, if you see, is the choice that we make is we are making choices to eat not based on when we are hungry, but whenever we want to.
Okay, the time, yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, nowhere in the animal kingdom will animals eat all the time or any time. Okay.
Yeah. Or it's 12 noon. Let me just go grab a snack.
Okay. So if you see, we would have seen on National Geographic, we would have seen lions, killing, having a nice meal.
Yeah.
Okay. A pride of lions, and they've just eaten and they're relaxing, and maybe we see lots of other animals just going around them, right?
Yeah.
Because they know they're not going to come after them and kill them because they just had a meal. Yeah, right? So whereas it's not the same with humans nowadays, isn't it? I mean, we could be chatting here and we may feel like just grabbing something and eating, right? Or maybe drinking something. Okay?
Or be influenced by seeing at somebody or an advertisement and just feel the need to eat.
Feel the need to eat. That's all.
Yeah.
Not because we are hungry, not because our body demands it, just because we just have some desire, which is driven either by your tongue or by your mind or the choice. Okay, so that is the first choice, which is having I would say, a negative effect on our health overall.
Okay.
The second choice that we make, okay, if you see, is the choice in the kind of food that we eat, right? So typically, let us even assume that people are eating the food that I defined it. Okay. Even when people eat the real deal, the food, they are eating mostly calorie dense food, okay, instead of nutrient dense food. Okay. So this is what is the choice that we are making, which is actually impacting us negatively. So does food choice have an impact on health? That's a question. So let's come back to the question. Okay. Yes, definitely it has an impact on our health. How does it have an impact on our health? To understand that, we need to first understand a term called metabolism.
Okay.
A lot of people nowadays would be familiar with that term called metabolism. And even before I come to metabolism, there are a couple of terms that I would like to just explain, okay, which are used quite loosely sometimes or interchangeably, I would say, right? The first one is, of course, food science. The food science is, how food science is how food is grown, prepared, and it arrives on your plate.
Okay.
That is food science.
The journey, the
journey till it arrives on your plate. The second is nutritional science. Okay. What is nutritional science? What happens when you actually consume that food in your body, and the body actually then breaks it down into the various components of food. Okay, which are supposed to actually get absorbed in your body to nourish us, and that is the nutrition. So, and those nutrients and nutrition is then in the bloodstream and presented to the cell. Now, what happens within the cell using the nutrients provided in the blood is metabolism. Okay, so so the food impact is on the metabolism, right? So now, how should we actually think about food? So now, food also provides. Everyone thinks that food gives us energy. Right? And that is true. Right? Food, if you don't consume food, probably you will not have sufficient energy to do the things that you want. Now, people have a slightly imperfect understanding of this energy business, right? Because when you consume food, they think we need to eat food to do the work that we do, physical work that we do every day. But that is only 10% of the energy from the food that is required.
Okay.
Almost 90% of the energy that we consume from food in terms of calories is used by the body to run the body. Right?
Fuel for the body.
Fuel for the body to run the systems.
Okay.
So even the difference between you lying down completely on the bed for 24 hours and you just going around doing your daily work, the difference is hardly about 200 calories. For an average person, unless you're going to the gym, etc. I'm not discounting that fact. So you see that the amount of energy we require for day-to-day activities hardly anything. right? But most people think that, we need to eat to cook.
Because
to
I'm
move
now going to the gym or I'm walking, I have to eat more.
I have to eat more, right? That is hardly anything, okay? So that is the energy component. Now that energy component, if you see, is so important to understand that people just eat for energy. We should not think of food only as energy. We should think of food as information.
As information.
As information. Now, information for whom?
Yeah.
The information for the cell. Like I just discussed previously, food is supposed to have nutrients, right? These nutrients are then obviously made available by our digestive process and the gastrointestinal system and made available in the blood.
Yeah.
And it presents itself to the cell. Now the cell, based on the kind of nutrients available in the blood. Then is influenced by that to behave in a certain fashion.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. So now you would have heard of many things called as metabolic syndrome. What is this metabolic syndrome? The syndrome is nothing but it is actually an adaptation. See, the concept of health, ill health, disease is all human generated terminologies.
Okay.
Right? The body doesn't understand what is disease, right? If
we
you
are
look at the body,
explaining our
we are
symptoms
explaining
or our
our
feelings
systems,
like that.
right?
Yes.
The body doesn't understand what is disease, what is good health. So for the body, the manner in which you create the external environment and the internal environment through the nutrients that you are able to absorb, create the environment for the cell to behave in a certain fashion, and that behavior is called as adaptation.
Okay.
So you can have a positive adaptation from your cognitive understanding, or you can have a negative adaptation, which is disease. Right? So that is the information. So if you want positive adaptations, then you need to have good nutrition and the right nutrients in the bloodstream for the cell to then behave
in a positive way.
In a positive
way.
My God. Okay. So that is the idea of food, not just as something for energy, but also something that is information for the cells to behave in a certain fashion.
In a certain fashion.
Okay. The second thing
in the right fashion.
In the right fashion, according to our understanding, right? And the other thing, the third thing, in fact, which is the most exciting thing happening in the last probably 10 years, is the understanding that the human being is actually a host to more than 10 trillion or maybe 100 trillion microbes.
Microbes, yeah.
Okay.
The gut. There's so much talk about the gut.
Correct. So you're bang on right. So the gut microbiome, there's about 100 trillion microbes and at least maybe 20,000 different species and again subspecies in that, and this research is just ongoing. It's just growing. It's just taking off now, and so we understand that the food that we eat, we are able to absorb something from that food, but the things that we are not able to absorb is then left over for the microbes to actually eat, absorb, right? So now we also understand that the food that we eat, therefore, also has to feed the microbes. Why should it feed the microbes? Is because the microbes, now from our current understanding, the microbiome is also called as the pharmacy.
Pharmacy.
It's a pharmacy.
Internal pharmacy.
Internal pharmacy.
Okay.
Because it creates a lot of what is called as postbiotics. That means after eating the food which is undigestible by us, our body, by our enzymes, it actually eats, digests, and then secretes certain postbiotics, certain
which releases
molecules,
in our body.
which releases in our colon, which is then absorbed in our blood, which is very important for our well-being, in fact.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so we will come to that aspect because that microbiome compounds which are released are impacting our body in terms of reducing inflammation, providing proper mood to our to us. So all these are very important aspects. So finally, it's a very long answer to a short question.
No worries.
Does food impact our health? Absolutely, the food choices definitely impact our health, either in a positive way or in a negative way, depending on the kind of choice you make in the food that you eat.
So, yes, thank you. That was a lot of information. How, if you were to give an example of a positive impact of a food choice that we make, what would it be versus a negative impact of a food choice that we would make? An example of what positive looks like And what negative looks like? The
Okay,
food, in terms of common available food.
Absolutely, very good question. Okay, so let's just take an example of breakfast.
Breakfast.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay, so let us also take an example of breakfast where people are not consuming non-food. Let us say they are consuming food as per my definition.
Your definition.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's say let's take 3 examples. Let's say somebody is having for breakfast cereal, okay, with some honey,
Okay.
and a banana and some orange juice.
Okay.
That's one option. Many people have that.
Continental.
Very
Yes.
continental. Okay. Or let's say you're South Indian, I'm
Yes.
South Indian. Let's say we had ragi roti
Okay.
with some chutney
Huh.
and one eleki balehennu.
Huh.
Okay, that's another choice.
Yes.
Or let's say you had maybe 2 eggs,
Huh.
sunny side up, okay, with a toast and an apple. Okay, each of these 3 breakfast will impact your body in a fashion that is going to determine how your entire day is going to be.
Oh, okay.
So the morning breakfast,
Entire day.
yeah, absolutely. The reason being because morning, of course, is a very important aspect on how our energy systems are functioning. Okay, as soon as you wake up in the morning, of course, there is some cortisol which is released in the body that helps the body to actually then break down fat and release some energy for us to start moving.
Okay.
This is evolutionary. This is hormonal. Okay, so cortisol levels naturally go up. They have a rhythm. Okay, and it goes up. So now the body has so many hormones. The moment you take something, food, breakfast, which spikes a certain hormone, which in this case is insulin. Okay,
because we have had a long gap.
Yeah. Okay, the moment you consume food which spikes insulin, then of course you feel energetic at that time because glucose is there. Yeah, because sugar, glucose, insulin going up, and you may feel good for a short period, but then it's 100% guaranteed that is going to follow by some crash.
Okay.
Okay, so people will have mid-morning crashes of energy, and if people continue with this kind of behavior over a long-term period, then you know a lot of people have chronic fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe they just can't think. They get brain fog. Okay, they can't think clearly. All these aspects come directly from just a simple thing as breakfast. Okay.
Yeah.
For example, if you just ate eggs, okay, and had an apple, okay, that will keep your insulin very low. Okay, and your body will just sail smoothly. In fact, all through the day. Okay, in the afternoon you can just have a little bit more carbs in terms of your food, and that is sufficient for us to actually sail through the entire day effortlessly. Actually. Yeah, so most people actually overestimate the amount of food required for themselves.
Yeah, this sounds like I overestimate then, but anyway.
Yeah, because if you see, again coming to that animal kingdom example, okay, human beings are so different. And probably, in fact, if you see in all of our history, human history of 70,000 plus years on this earth, it's only, I would say, in the last it's just in the last 30, 40 years that that we have food
choices as well.
We have food at demand. Okay, otherwise it was very difficult for people to even get 2 square meals. I mean, you had to be really in a good position, doing well in life to get 2 to 3 meals a day. An average person was maybe getting just 1 square meal. Okay, I know my father, he went through college, etc. He just had 1 square meal, lucky if he was lucky. Otherwise, he was, I mean, of course, he ran away from home to study. That is a different matter. But then, during his days, it was not common for people to have 2-3 square meals a day. So, if you see, just in the last 50 years, we have an abundance of food available. And people just think, and I also know examples of people who do a lot of exercise and then they feel that they're justified in eating more.
That was something I read very recently and I wanted to ask you about that.
And that completely negates the effort they're putting in actually going out and doing some physical activity. Okay, and I know a lot of people who go early in the morning to Lal Bagh here in Bangalore. And after a nice long walk, they go to MTR and eat nice idli, vada, sambar, okay, which completely negates what they are trying to achieve. So
our food choices have, and also your definition of food. What happens if somebody eats something called as non-food by you as breakfast?
Okay, so non-foods, today if you understand, there are more than about 25,000 different chemicals which are being used in the food industry. More than 2,000 of them are purposely used in so-called ready to eat.
As preservatives?
As preservatives,
color
as taste enhancers, as taste modifiers. Now, our evolutionary process, if you see, our body systems and the cells, we talked about the individual cells, they are all evolved to recognize various compounds in the natural world. Okay, so if you see a cell has got a membrane, and the membrane is like the door in your house.
Yes.
It allows something or it doesn't allow something, right? And these receptors at a cell membrane, they recognize something which has a natural origin.
Okay.
Now we have created so many different compounds and molecules which are artificial. Okay. So we have no idea the kind of impact these are having on our cells at the membrane level and inside at a metabolic level. But we know some things for sure, because most of them, if you just go by statistics of the health of the world population, forget about any specific population, it is deteriorating. In spite of all the advances we are making in medicine and in science and in terms of the knowledge available for people, from the people like doing this podcast, people have more information today than they ever had, but yet they are not as healthy as maybe my grandfather was. And many people's parents live, I have aunts and uncles who are past 90, okay, and they don't have any health challenge. They are not diabetic or hypertensive or any of that. How is that possible? It's only because of this eating these non-foods and making those poor choices, okay, and eating from packets, which is really very bad. Because in the natural world, food is not packaged. That's a good wrap up for that. I know.
Excellent. Thank you. So, healthy food, eat food and not packaged food, something which is naturally available and has come to your plate after somebody has sourced it and cooked it for you. And be aware of what you put in and how much of it. Just because you're exercising doesn't mean you can overeat or indulge. Excellent, lovely. Thank you, Avinash, for that. You mentioned in terms of the time of key meals, right? Breakfast is important and it will sustain us. So what are the timings that you would say? And also you mentioned in terms of how often we eat, which is not great. So what according to you, or what is nutritious, what is right in terms of eating? Okay, so that's a good question. Or what are the timings? So basically we need to understand that just like in the natural world, all animals, at least many animals, of course, some have different cycles, but most of them are following the circadian rhythm. Okay, the circadian rhythm is your body is attuned to the sun rising and sun setting. So that is our natural rhythm. With that natural rhythm, a lot of processes within our body are happening. Okay, so whatever we do in terms of eating has to be in sync with that circadian rhythm. Natural. The natural process. So when you wake up, like I said, of course, there is some cortisol released naturally in the body. That hormone is sufficient for the body to actually create enough energy in the body by breaking down the peptides in the body to have the energy to do what we want, right? So it is not necessary to actually go and eat a breakfast in terms of a carbohydrate rich breakfast. It is a good idea to in fact just eat something, even just having a protein shake is sufficient, because the body has enough reserves. You would have heard that people can getting trapped in tunnels in earthquakes, living for more than 25 days, 30 days.
The only thing, see, the body can survive without food for almost 2 months. But without water, not
Or
2
air.
days. 2 days. Yeah.
Yes.
And without air, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Right. So this
Yes.
is what it is. So really, food is just overhyped, I think. So, but you need to understand that whatever you eat has to be in sync. Yeah. Most people are having dinner at 10:30. Right. Our ancestors never had meal at 10:30.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably had at 6 before the sun set, and they were in the caves at 10:30 sleeping and waking up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Right? And today people are sleeping at 5 a.m., waking up at 12 noon. Okay?
Yes.
So
Changed cycles.
change cycles. So this is not helping the overall health of the community, of the human beings.
And that also
in the world.
impacts the body in terms of even the food they eat, how it's digested, not digested, absorbed.
Absolutely.
All of
All
that.
these things just are Lego pieces, one on top of the other, one on top of the other. The food choices, definitely, because if you have poor food choices, all the modern diseases, okay, like diabetes, cardiovascular issues, these are common issues.
Yeah.
You know, PCOD, PCOS, you know, erectile dysfunction, infertility. All these are issues which are directly linked to our food choices
To
and
food
nutrition.
choices and nutrition.
Right?
Okay.
Directly. And these are, and non-clinical ones are also there. We talked about chronic fatigue.
Yes.
Yeah, brain fog.
Yeah.
All these things are not clinical situations, but they're common situations
They are
for
very-
many
yeah,
people.
yeah.
Okay.
So you mentioned so many of these diseases like, you know, diabetes, hypertension. So, and you mentioned that they are linked with our food choices.
Yeah.
What are the examples of things that common man would do or has now become a habit because of our lifestyle that could potentially lead to some of these things? Is not eating on time or eating a lot of carb heavy food? What are some of the examples of?
Okay, so good question, because coming to, specifically coming to, let us talk about Indians.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So we have an unfortunate condition which actually is very different from the Caucasians, right? If you see Indians, if they are overweight, sorry, and if you compare it with the other races, let's say a Caucasian overweight people, they are markedly different, right? While the Caucasian will be big overall, Indian overweight person will be big only in the abdominal
Waist and
area,
hip region.
right? That's all. Okay, and thin arms and legs, right? So the reason being is something to do with obviously our genes, right? Now we need to understand that we are typically in the not the equatorial region, but subtropical region, right? So which means we are obviously endowed with a lot of sun. Now what has happened is more and more people are moving away from the sun, okay, and are indoors.
Yeah.
That is number one. Number two, we are eating, if you see as a population, we are a mono diet population. That means a lot of emphasis in our food is only on carbohydrate rich foods. Yeah, that's a mono diet. Whether you take rice or you take chapati, which is eaten in the north, everything is carbohydrate or the derivatives of it. Right?
Yeah.
So, and what has happened also over last few decades is because of increasing the yields of all of these crops, right? The amount of carbohydrates available in them is much higher than it was in earlier, maybe 100 years ago. Okay, the native varieties of rice or even wheat contain much less carbohydrate. They had higher fiber content.
That way. Okay.
Yeah. So today, all the foods, even which are grown, are having less fiber content and more calorie content, carbohydrates. Yeah. So, and added to this, we also not only eat it in a natural form, we refine it.
We refine it.
Okay. So whatever little fiber used to be there or is there now is now removed, and you're only eating just plain sugar. Right. So all these things lead to unfortunately diabetes. Almost one in 3 is a pre-diabetic, 1 in 4 is a diabetic. The statistics are just horrendous. If you see the NCDs, non-communicable diseases, and the disease load is huge, and all this is only Entirely. I mean, if you see, we can just solve this problem without any major medication, just by making simple, proper choices in terms of the food that we eat, when we eat it, how much we eat.
Where is it sourced from?
Where is it sourced from, right? So just making these small changes. Of course, it's not easy, but we have to be conscious of it.
So you're saying if a person is, one person can prevent any of these non-communicable diseases by paying attention to the food they put in their body.
Yes.
And two, if they have any of these, then can they keep it under control or check, or can they even maybe reverse it?
Given the fact that these conditions have arisen because of the very choices of the food that I made, it stands to reason that each of these conditions can be definitely reversed by taking appropriate action. But obviously, I mean, if you see my work as a nutritionist, most of the time I am actually helping people to actually get rid of prescription medication and get on to health using food and nutrition as a key pillar for transformation. That's all. And it is possible, and you don't need medication. And it's unfortunate that most people just are dependent on the so-called healthcare system to just manage their condition, rather than understanding that they can actually correct it and get back to health. See, one thing is very important to understand, that the human body, like I said, whatever at a cellular level happens is an adaptation.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
And also you need to understand that our body is constantly dying and creating new cells in different parts of the body, regenerating, right? If you see platelets, every 6 days there are new platelets, 100,000 of them, right? So cells are dying and cells are being born.
Yes.
The ones which are being born, now you have a choice. How you want those new ones to be? How do you want those new ones to be? You want them to be better than the early ones, the ones which died? Then it is possible if you just focused on the information which I talked about. What is the information you are giving the cell, so that it can actually recreate a better version of itself when a new one is coming? So once you do that, over a period of time, definitely you will recover. So body is a intensely intelligent organism. I am not talking the intelligence, the brain intelligence. I am talking about body intelligence, right? The body is very intelligent, so it knows what to do, and it also knows how to heal itself. You just need to provide it the right ingredients for it to heal itself.
Yes.
If you are providing it the right ingredients in terms of nutrition and in terms of your habits and behaviors that you are going to inculcate, 100% you are going to get the results. You can cure yourself. If you look at it, Hippocrates, 3000 years ago, he said, "Food is let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." Now, what does that mean? The meaning of that statement is, the food should be used as preventive for disease.
Okay.
And if you get the disease, then you should use food as the medicine to cure the disease. Okay. So this is like 3000 years ago. When
Smart
food,
people.
when food was food, right? And so even in those days, people had that wisdom to understand that we can actually completely cure any condition just using as food. The right food. To reverse the condition.
Excellent. That's a very I really liked the part you mentioned about the body being regenerative, and how you can teach it, or not even teach it, maybe allow it to learn good ways of regenerating, or pick up good
it already has the knowledge. It already has the knowledge. You just have to create the right environment and provide the right inputs. That's it. By providing the right environment, I mean by our behavior. That means you wake up in the morning at 5 a.m., you sleep by 9 p.m. The environment, external environment, internal environment, by eating the right stuff and giving it the right inputs in terms of nutrients. That's it. As simple as that.
Sounds very simple. So it's all about trying to put this into practice and trying to be aware of the choices we make in terms of. I also liked your definition of food versus the rest. You just clearly pushed everything else as non-food. Anything which comes out of a packet. So that's very, very interesting, and also the right thing because we are to save time or to feel good. We eat a lot of things out of packets, which definitely teach our cells or give ourselves a very wrong message, and we land into trouble with all of those. Excellent. So thank you Avinash for such a wonderful discussion and for giving us so much information about food and the journey and the cycle of food and how it enters our body, and also the choices that lead to health issues.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.